Good evening and welcome to another episode of our world. It's so exciting to be here today. I am happy that I'm sharing this time with you, and I do believe that before the end of today's episode of our world, you'd also be very happy with spending this time together. Well, let me ask, how's your day been? I hope it has not been too stressful, and I hope your day was fruitful. You achieved the goals that you actually set for today. Well, if you were not able to achieve all your goals, we believe that tomorrow is a better opportunity to fulfill them all. Today, on the guest segment of our world, we have this fine, handsome young man who has done well, and he's doing well. He is a man who has, they call some people pathfinders. He has found the path and is blazing a trail that many of us need to follow, especially as young people. Our guest on today's episode of Our World is Charles Olawale Ajiboye. Now, permit me to read out his profile to you. He's a legal practitioner, a consummate entrepreneur, a life coach, a published writer, a seasoned speaker, company secretary in several firms, and the lead partner of the Penthouse Chamber. So with me in the studio today is, ladies, like they'll say at those awards, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the child Olawale Ajiboye Esquire.
And then I'm supposed to like, some people start
Yeah,
clapping.
and then they'll say, no autographs, please,
Yeah,
please.
and pictures will be censored.
Yes, pictures not be
Control
censored.
pictures.
Charles, how are you today?
I'm fine.
You
fine.
look good.
Thank you very much.
Probably Nigeria. Where's my own?
It's intentional.
It's intentional. I have one.
You have
It's at
one.
home.
Congratulations. But you're not using it today.
It's at home.
Oh, sorry. We're Nigerians all the time. Every day,
Yeah,
every time.
proudly. My blood is green. If you cut me now, the blood is green.
That means you are not human. Blood must be red.
All right, Charles, how are you? Really?
I'm fine, and you?
And then,
I see you're fine anyway.
all right, Charles is a lawyer, and we were classmates in school. I have a wig and a gown too. I wear it once in a while when I want to.
Don't let me respond to that.
Please don't respond to that. So, Charles, you're also the president of ICCube, and
All right.
ICCube reaches out to young people. You guys do a lot of things. I've gone through your profile. I think you should tell us a little about ICCube.
Well, ICCube is a teenage and youth capacity development organization.
Okay.
We set out 7 years ago to help as many young people as we can to attain greatness.
Okay.
Now, when I say attain greatness, the question is always, what does greatness mean? Now, to us, greatness means the ability to live your life, not just for your own good. Of course, you must live for your own good.
Okay.
It's a duty you owe yourself. But living beyond your own good for the good of others, that is greatness. Now, we set out 7 years ago to ensure that people understand the duty they hold themselves to be successful, not just because they have to be successful, but because the world is expecting them. There is a manifestation that the world requires of them to exist, to survive, to remain. So the world needs them to succeed because the world itself needs to exist. And we started this 7 years ago. We were looking at what areas is it actually that we can focus on in the lives of young people and narrow down to help them in those areas. And that's where we came up with the coinage of ICCube, I then C raised to power 3. That's where the cube came from. It was 3 C's. So we focus on the monetary part of young people that has to do with investment, which is the I. Then we talk about their communication skills in relationship, with family, in business, in academics. And that has to do with the communication. Then we have career, then we have general counseling. Those are the 3 C's. So generally, we help young people in all of these areas. That has to do with their finances, that has to do with their relationship, that has to do with their career. And let's see how we can build them. How we can make them successful. How we can make them proud of themselves. And they understanding the fact that their pride in themselves is because the world must benefit from them. So that's how we started 7 years ago. And then when we started, of course, we have a very, very broad vision. There's a big picture in mind. We intend to still have youth centers. We intend to have an institute where we bring these young people together and train them in much more organized setting. But earlier when we started, we started by having some pockets of programs. We go to schools, tertiary, when we started to tertiary, polytechnics, and colleges of education. We did a few on campuses, universities then. Of course, I was a student when I started then. And then we wished to bring them together, bring in some much more experienced facilitators and counselors to talk to them, to encourage them. And we have done that several times over and over.
Okay.
And much more recently, we are becoming much more practical. And that's why we have started going into fairs, organizing fairs, job fairs, some close coaching, direct coaching, mentoring groups, connecting people, and all of those things. So that's about ICQ in brief now.
Wow,
That's how far we
sounds
have gone.
very fantastic. Now, you mentioned that you started when you were in school.
Yeah.
As a student, what inspired that vision? Where did it come from in the midst of your academics and everything you had to balance up? How were you able to catch that vision that was outside the four walls of your school?
I think for everybody, I think it's everybody. I may be wrong, but I think for everybody, there is that time in your life. Blessed art thou, if that time comes when you are much younger.
What verse of the Bible is that?
I'll check that out for you after
Okay.
now. But blessed art thou, if that time I'm talking about comes early. Because some people you find out that they discover they are genius at 7. Some discover what God has sent them to do, their purpose at 10. Some at 13. I remember Miles Monroe said 13. You know, some people at 20. Some 70.
Yeah.
Now, it came to a point in my own life as a student when I realized that nothing just seems to make sense anymore. I wanted to study law all my life. I still love law, and I have always wanted it. But I just realized that law alone wasn't giving me that perfect fulfillment that I desired. Now, what exactly is it that I needed to feel the fulfillment and the jive and the excitement I wanted? I was an entrepreneur. I did a lot of businesses. I was doing businesses at that time in school. I was making money, but I still wasn't fulfilled. I got into church. I was an executive in every level. I still wasn't fulfilled. I was into politics up to student union level. It just did not, it didn't connect. And then at some point in time, you know, strike action periods have always been my best time in school. Whenever schools go on strike, I come alive. So one of those times, school was on strike, and then I just came alive. And I went back to school. Everyone was quiet. It was the perfect time for meditating,
To meditate, to
think.
read, take a break
And
from
then,
it.
like, God, what exactly is this thing all about? What exactly? Everything is making sense. Every strike action, I come up with a business idea. I come up with a political ambition. I come up with something. So what's coming up this time around now? Apparently, it was actually the birth of me. That's what I call it. It was the birth of me. And then the whole idea came. It was just coming in. Go make them great. Go make them great. That was just the only thing that was coming to my mind. Like, how will someone, you need to have before you give. He who does not have blood cannot give blood. And so I was like, what exactly? How do you make people great when even you are not great? And that was when the definition of greatness came around. That greatness is not a position. Greatness is not a status. Greatness is not some bank account. Greatness is not some big edifice or office or something. No. Greatness is just a step-by-step process whereby you live your life, not just for your own good, but for the good of others. So for as long as you decide to live your life in such a manner as I've said, you will have become great because you are walking in the path of greatness. And for as long as you are walking in the path of greatness, you qualify to invite as many people as you can into that path. And then it came again because I had this issue of, okay, maybe I should just make some more money as an entrepreneur, make some more money, make my business bigger. And then, you know, when the money is there, you can tidy up a lot of things. And I said, no, I give the vision, I give the provision. What's your business? You just say yes. And when you say yes, we'll move. And for 7 years, we've been moving, and God has been moving with us. For 7 years, we've been taking steps, and God has just been giving us good landing. And so that's about it. It's that time in people's life. And I've counseled a lot of people, I've coached a lot of young people. And you know, when they come and they say, I'm feeling something, there's this idea, there's this, and then I always just remember that time in my own life too, when everything just shuts down. And it looks like your life wants to start all over again. And the only way you know whether you have started on the right path is that feeling you can't explain that you are doing the right thing. It's that peace that comes when you just sit down, you make a decision, and then that decision makes you smile. And then you're just happy. A decision that takes money out of your pocket, a decision that takes time out of the time that does not exist, a decision that stresses you beyond every other thing you do, but then it makes you smile. It makes you happy. And that's what ICQ has done for me all my life. It has taken much money than any other thing I've ever thought about in my life. It has stressed me more than any other thing I've ever done in my life. It has battered and beaten me like any other thing, but it has given me much more joy
Than
any other thing has also ever given me. So that's about it.
So, like you said, it has battered and beaten you, but then you've continued consistently for 7 years. What has been your driving force?
Fulfillment. The feeling that you are doing what you are meant to do. And it's also something that comes to my mind. You know, sometime back then in school, I was part of a group called Class 1. I don't know. Okay, yeah.
Of course now.
Christian Law Students
Association.
Fellowship of Nigeria.
Fellowship of Nigeria. Association fellowship is not the same.
Oh, Jerry, no, okay. And you know, we were traveling to one of the national conferences. I think it was one in Jos.
Okay.
Maybe Plateau or something somewhere.
You guys went to several. I attended just what if.
I attended virtually everyone that came up, and then we're in the bus and we're all singing. It was a coaster bus, you know. There were there's so many half. I won't call them roundabout, but half about in Jos. You know, you're just going, and then it's just a roundabout that goes like this. It doesn't have a turn. It just it's supposed to negotiate to a beat. I mean, we're traveling, everybody was singing, and at some point, everybody just slept off. I was awake at that point. And then I just saw the bus swerving, boo, 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 and then we had an accident. I don't know if you remember that time.
I do.
And the bus just went into a ditch. And, you know, I came out through the window. People came out somehow. And people were crying. And they started they knelt down. We're coming back from the conference, of course. They were crying, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus. Thank you. And, you know, I just sat down by the roadside. You know, people were parking to help. And I just asked myself, if you had died, what would have happened? Who would cry apart from your family? Who would miss you apart from those close to you? And then I realized that life was about relevance. Even when we love because the people we love are relevant. That's the truth about it. Yeah, I would say we should love for nothing, but then we don't miss people that were not relevant to our lives. And that's why you see an obituary in the newspaper. I was reading papers before I came into the studio. And
you just flip.
I just flipped through. It didn't make any meaning to me. But some people will flip that same obituary and, you know, their hands will start shaking. And tears start coming because they love the person. Not just because they love the person. That person was filling a particular space in their lives. So my question was, what space would I fill in the lives of people? If I just die, would I just die and then, you know, some 6, 20, 10 people would just come, carry some... No, and I said, I was not going to live my life that way. I wanted to live my life in such a way that I'll be relevant to the happiness of so many people. I'll be relevant to the growth of so many people. And now, even though we have not done much, we're still very young as an organization. I'm still very young as a person. And then you find out that there's a whole lot we can still do. But when I read my text messages virtually on a daily basis, sometimes if I miss it in a day, the other day, and you get testimonies, you open your mails, you receive testimonies, you pick your phone and people call you and they are sharing stories. Thank you for this, thank you for that. I tell myself, thank God I'm alive. And then I tell myself again that it's a confirmation that I won't just die anyhow. I can't just die anyhow because, you know, God is profiting from my existence. It's not just because He loves me that I'm existing anyway. Now, because He's also fulfilling an intention He has for humanity. He's fulfilling an intention He has for people. So it makes you happier. That fulfillment is great. You can't explain it when you are living beyond yourself.
And you can't trade it for anything.
You can't
now,
trade it.
It is Ice Cube a self-designed ambition, or is this something that God has called you to do?
Something that God has called me to do. Now, let me demystify calling. Ice Cube now. Let me demystify calling. You know, I was at a session, don't mind me, I'm referring to Dr. Miles Monroe again. And then it was a closed session. One of these days it was in Nigeria. And then it was sharing a particular message. I can't remember the title now. It was somewhere in Lekki. And then he said, you see all this calling thing? Somebody starts up a church. It's an idea. He said, God called me. No, God did not call anybody. He gave you an idea. You have an idea and then something well, I just picked that out. You know, when you pick out messages like that, you may not pick out. It's out of context. It was saying a whole lot of other things. But what I'm bringing out from that is this. When God calls you, when you have a ministerial calling, as it were, it's not like that of Saul or Paul when it says, "To me," or like the old video. Then boom, 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 boom.
Ta-da! Where's the guy wearing the white gown?
Exactly. It's not that kind of way that God calls you these days.
Yeah.
In fact, that's not how God calls you. He calls you the way you hear from Him. So you find out how God talks to you. Does he talk to you through books? Does he talk to you through the scriptures where you read the Bible? Does he talk to you? Does he talk to you through that still voice in your mind? Does he talk to you through conviction? Does he talk to you through stillness?
Ideas.
Does he talk to you through ideas? How does God talk to you? Now, the way he talks to you is the way he's going to call you. He's not going to use another route or another medium that you will not understand. Now, when that idea comes, when that calling comes, when that message comes, the duty is now yours to develop it. And that's why you find out that even when somebody, when you hear God calling, someone still has to stand up and go and meet his prophet and say, I was hearing, were you calling me? I said, no, I wasn't calling you. And he went back again. He said, were you calling me? Because he needed someone to fine tune. And then I said, okay, when you hear that voice again, this is what you should do. Now, that is how it happens. When you receive that conviction, when you receive that calling, the way you hear from God, the duty is for you now to self-style it. What I've just done is I've tried to use your two words together. Because you said, is it a calling or is it a self-styled, self-designed ambition? Now, I'm telling you that it has to be both, even for it to be God. And I always, I was going through the redemption camp earlier today, and I was connecting it with the message, the vision that Baba had when he was saying, I was going to give you a city, I was going to give you a city. Now, I'm sure there was no Liberty Lane, Dove Drive, all those things in the city that Baba saw. It couldn't have been there. Do you understand? He had a city, and it was his duty to style that city. It was his duty to find all the people that mattered, all the information that mattered, all the resources that mattered, to connect and to bring that stuff into life. So one of the things, of course, we had to start doing was, I didn't hear high CQ from heaven. What name do we give this thing that is inside your mind? This expression. What name do you give this? How do you go about it? How do you grow it? Look, this is the big picture. This is the big vision. How do you achieve it? So that's about it. So it's both, if I have to be very, very honest to people that are watching.
Okay, now.
And it has to be both.
On a less serious note, because I begin to sound like the seasoned speaker,
You're whining now.
This your look.
Okay, let me calm down.
Is it a Miles Morose look? Because I'm seeing the head.
Hey,
And then this beard.
No, does it have this?
Yes, it does. It keeps a
No,
bit of this
does
too. It does.
I can't remember him having
And
this.
then it has the shape of the. I'm not going to mention it.
Okay, the shape of the hair. It's a shape, actually. It's a
shape.
style of hair.
Okay.
When you see people like this, they are great people. The hair goes in a
With
bit.
age, the thing will
It's
now be
not-
shaping.
This is how it is.
Okay.
From it is now
And
and
it will-
evermore.
Okay, I
That
hear
is how
you.
it is.
All right. Now, you're also the lead partner of the Penthouse Chamber.
Yes.
It's just been how many years you were called to the bar? 3 years.
Okay. If you're counting calendar years.
Yes.
You've lost count. Don't worry.
3 years. And now you have a chamber of your own. I'm sure there are lawyers watching us now who are saying, I know I'm good. I mean, I'm vibrant. My boss commits a lot of things into my hands. At that point in time, how did you know you were ready to start your chamber? And were you sure it was going to succeed when you started?
I like being honest. And I don't like telling people half truth. I've had a whole lot of, I have lawyers working for us in the office. I have associates, and I've seen people come around and say, wow, I celebrate you, I'm so happy for you. And I'm like, honestly, I'm surprised at all of this. Now, the major reason why I set out in the first place is not the same reason a lot of people set out. I had a good job. I was working with a beautiful law firm. I had 2 senior advocates I was reporting to. In fact, I thank God for that place. It was a matter of choice. I had different offers, but I thank God for that particular place where God eventually allowed me to go to. Why? Because I received some kind of baptism of fire. They gave me opportunities that people that 7, 8, 10 years had never had. So it gave me what I call the eagle kind of training, where you take the eaglet up and you just drop the eagle and the eaglet and say, survive or die. That was how it was for me. So I learned a lot within a very short while. Now, about that time, of course, I told you ICQ started in school.
Yeah.
So whilst I was working my house out and working so hard at work, I realized that ICQ was suffering. I hardly had time when I received invitations to speak at events, churches, secular programs, and CLO activities. I realized that it was hell. Either there was one election petition we're preparing for, or there was a travel, there was a matter in another state I had to go for. I had to cancel this appointment. I had to reschedule this meeting. Even the programs we're organizing was issue because I didn't have a lot of money to start funding office or running so many staff. But then we had to move, and then I just felt that same thing that I felt back then when we started IC Cube. When you're having everything. Yeah, I had a good car, I had a good job, I was learning, I had the best of verses, and well, it wasn't just connecting. Still, that's drive left again. And then at some point, I had to come meet my boss, who is a senior advocate still in active practice, and I said, "This is what I felt." Of course, he just didn't understand. But what does this small boy mean? He's talking about you're not going to help people to be, all those things doesn't make sense when you're working to big people that are very comfortable, especially when they're not really Christians or in that line. And then I explained everything, and he said, "I don't think it's time. Go and think about it, Charles. It's too early. Just think about it." Well, I still put in my 1 month notice. I think I will still have to go. And I thought about it. Everybody I spoke to said, "No, just chill a bit, chill a bit, chill a bit." But there was just something they couldn't understand. That part I was not feeling. I could not explain it, and they couldn't see it. So we were at it for a while. Everybody just felt I shouldn't go. So I just put in that 1 month. And then at the end of 1 month, he said, "Have you thought about this?" I said, "I've thought about it." But I'm thinking too that if I could do 3 days at work, 2 days off work, and then receive half salary or something. But the firm I was working with was too big for that. They couldn't be doing that kind of arrangement with a young counsel like myself. So it was a matter of in or out. And of course, it made it easier for me. When you say in or out, it's just out. When you're convinced of what God has called it to, it's just out. So I decided to move out and then try to make sure that I shut the door gently in case I needed to go through it. And then I told myself, ICQ was not going to give me money at that time. ICQ is still not giving me money now. I just want to go and bless lives. How do I get money? How do I survive? And the devil showed me everything. He showed me how bad my car would turn and I'll have to sell it. He showed me how bad my shoes would turn to and I'll have to sell. I'll have to change them. And it showed me how bad my lifestyle would. And I told myself, all of this doesn't even amount to death. So it won't be much. And that's why we not thought about it. I've always had the entrepreneurial drive. So all the time when I was having these problems in my spirit of what I wanted to do, I was already putting 1 or 2 things together. Now, 1 or 2 things by way of, okay, I may have to register a firm. What if these people don't agree for me to do half? I may have to start up my practice somewhere privately. I may have to start thinking about what up. And I started doing business since my diploma in law days. I did diploma before I read 100, got into 100 level faculty of law. I started doing business all through that time. So I was used to entrepreneurship. I was used to doing businesses. I was used to making money. So all I just needed to do was to see law as a business again, and then see how to deliver satisfaction to clients. And then started designing it. There was an abandoned garage that had been abandoned there for like 20 years. And I just got there. I went there, broke it open, put some windows there, turned it into an office space, did some partitioning. And then I remember we started with a plastic table and 2 plastic chairs. And then even the first client I ever had practically beat me up. Because he met me outside, saw me all cleanly, neatly dressed. The day I was going to come to the office, he felt that I was one scam. So he reversed the transaction, reversed the business. He just where this small boy wanted to dwindle me. And then it was serious. He actually handled me and he was like, "No, give me my money." I said, "Your money is still safe." He said, "No, you are a thief. Give me my money." He got unnecessarily hyper that particular day. And then that was because of what he saw. In a short while, things have changed. Things have changed seriously because God has blessed us. Maybe because of the decision we took, God has decided to bless Penthouse Chambers. And now we have associates, we have partners, we have several clients. The office is chilling and cool.
Wow.
Life is better.
The plastic table is gone.
No. My table is very clean now. Nobody uses plastic table now. Anymore.
Charles, we're totally out of time. I mean, I lost track of time already. What's your word of advice to young people who are watching now? Sincerely, that word of advice to the guy on the street who does not have access to quality education, to the boy who has good education but then is from a broken home, a dysfunctional home, to the guy in church who does not understand his part. He has many talents. He doesn't know how to find his bearing. What's your advice to all of those people?
Okay, in 2 words, and I'll do a short explanation. 1, responsibility. 2, leverage. Responsibility, I mean take responsibility. In the end, you are responsible for your life. In the end, you are very much on your own. In the end, what happens to you is your business. It's not wise. In fact, to say the least, it is foolhardy for you to blame anyone, any circumstance, any situation for your problems. So once you take responsibility, it becomes easier. I can't do much explanation on that. Then on leverage, leverage simply means look around you. There is always that opportunity. There is always that advantage. There's always that benefit that you will get from that neighbor of yours, from that church member of yours, from that uncle, from that cousin. They don't owe you as a duty. You must find a way of bargaining for it. But it's called leverage. And then I will recommend something to them, which can help the caliber of people that you talked about. There is an old book. It's a very small book. I doubt if it goes for more than 200 naira. It's called Acres of Diamond. Go and read it. It will inspire you.
Written by who?
I can't remember the name of the writer now.
Okay.
It's an old book. But Acres of Diamond, it's so popular. It's on the internet. You can download it. You can everywhere. Just get it. Acres of Diamond is about 32 pages.
Okay.
But it's a beautiful book.
All right, Charles, thank you so much for coming on our
My
world
pleasure,
today. It was nice having you, and we hope to have you one more time because I think you have a lot of things to tell us.
Anytime, my pleasure.
I think we don't have enough time today to go all over that. Well, to our viewers at home, we want to say thank you for staying with us on the guest segment. And if you think our world has come to an end, no. Because right after now, Dr. Arogunade will be with you to inspire and motivate you to be the very best God has ordained you to be. And right after Dr. Arogunade's segment, we'll give you a beautiful music video to help you relax, dance, and enjoy God's presence. And after the music video, I'll be here to say au revoir. That's goodbye. Yorubas will say au double. So for now, Dr. Arogunade will be with you, and I'll be right back after the music video. Do not go anywhere because we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back from that short break. I believe Dr. Arogunade has blessed and inspired you and motivated you to be the very best God wants you to be. And I'm also sure you were blessed by that beautiful music video. I hope it spoke something sweet to your heart. Well, we have come to the end of our word today, and I believe that you have been blessed greatly by God and also by Charles Ajiboye, who was here earlier on the guest segment. Like I always like to say on this program, on this particular show, whatsoever your hands find to do, please do it with all your might. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Tomi Adisa.